What if one decision, made quietly on the African continent, could shake the foundations of global power? What if a partnership that many dismissed as routine diplomacy suddenly became the trigger for tension between continents? And what if Tanzania, often overlooked in global power conversations, just made a move so bold, so strategic, that it sent shockwaves all the way to Washington? This is not just another international deal, this is a shift, a signal, a warning. Welcome to the Afrikaans for 7, where we uncover the stories shaping Africa's future, and today, we dive deep into how Tanzania's growing alliance with India is raising eyebrows, turning heads, and sparking serious concern in the United States. For decades, global power has followed a familiar script. The United States, Europe, and their allies dominated trade, influence, and diplomacy. Africa, despite its vast resources and strategic importance, was often treated as a secondary player, a place to extract, not to partner with. But times are changing. Africa is no longer waiting for a seat at the table. It's building its own. Countries across the continent are diversifying their partnerships, seeking new alliances, and rewriting the rules of engagement. And right at the center of this transformation is Tanzania. Tanzania has long been seen as stable, resource-rich, and quietly ambitious. But recently, it has begun to take a much more assertive role on the global stage. From infrastructure expansion to energy investments, Tanzania is positioning itself as a key economic hub in East Africa. But the move that has caught the world's attention, its deepening relationship with India. India is not new to Africa. For years, it has built ties through trade, education, and cultural exchange. But now, India is accelerating its push into the continent, and Tanzania is becoming a central pillar of that strategy. Why? Because Tanzania offers everything a rising global power like India needs: strategic access to the Indian Ocean, vast natural resources, a growing economy, political stability. India isn't just investing, it's committing. From major infrastructure projects, to energy deals, to defense cooperation. The partnership is expanding rapidly, and that's where things start to get complicated. Recent agreements between Tanzania and India have gone beyond traditional trade. We're talking about massive infrastructure financing, technology transfer agreements, energy sector collaboration. These are not small moves. These are long-term, strategic commitments that reshape influence in the region. And for Washington, this raises a critical question: is Africa slipping out of its sphere of influence? Let's be clear, this is not just about Tanzania. This is about control, influence, and the future of global alliances. For decades, the United States has maintained strong ties across Africa. But in recent years, countries like China, Russia, and now India have stepped in aggressively, offering alternatives that many African nations find appealing. And here's the key difference: these new partnerships often come with fewer conditions. No lengthy political lectures, no strict policy demands, just business, investment, and mutual benefit. That's attractive. And Tanzania's move signals something bigger, a shift in how African nations choose their partners. What Tanzania and India are building is not just a deal, it's a model. A model based on mutual respect, economic cooperation, strategic independence. This is exactly what many African countries have been asking for. Instead of being told what to do, they're being asked what they need, and that changes everything. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Other African nations are watching closely. If Tanzania's partnership with India proves successful, it could trigger a domino effect across the continent. Countries may begin to reevaluate existing alliances, diversify partnerships, prioritize economic benefit over political alignment, and that could significantly reduce Western influence in the region. Let's talk numbers. With India's involvement, Tanzania stands to gain: improved infrastructure, ports, roads, railways, increased foreign investment, job creation, technology access. This isn't just diplomacy, this is development. And if executed properly, it could accelerate Tanzania's growth in ways we haven't seen before. One of the biggest factors in this partnership is geography. Tanzania's coastline along the Indian Ocean is incredibly valuable. Control and access to this region mean trade route dominance, military positioning, economic leverage. India understands this, and so does the United States, which is why this partnership isn't just economic, it's deeply strategic. While there's no official conflict, what we're seeing is a quiet competition. A race for influence, a battle fought not with weapons, but with investments, partnerships, and diplomacy. And Tanzania has become one of the key battlegrounds. Perhaps the most important part of this story is what it says about Africa. This is a continent that is becoming more confident, more strategic, more selective. African nations are no longer accepting one-sided deals. They are negotiating, choosing, deciding, and that shift in mindset is powerful. Of course, this move is not without risks. Tanzania must navigate debt concerns, overdependence on a single partner, geopolitical pressure. Balancing global relationships is never easy, but the opportunity is massive. This partnership could redefine how global powers engage with Africa. It sends a clear message. Africa is open for business, but on its own terms. And countries that understand this will thrive. Those that don't may be left behind. Zoom out for a moment. This is not just Tanzania and India. This is part of a larger global shift where power is becoming more decentralized. New alliances are forming. Traditional dominance is being challenged, and Africa is at the center of it all. At the heart of this partnership lies something bigger than individual projects. We're talking about the creation of economic corridors. These are not just roads or railways. They are lifelines of trade, movement, and industrial growth. India's involvement in Tanzania is helping to connect inland regions to major ports, improve logistics efficiency, reduce trade costs. Imagine goods moving faster, cheaper, and more efficiently across East Africa. That's not just development, that's transformation. And once these systems are in place, they don't just benefit Tanzania, they influence the entire region. For decades, Africa has exported raw materials and imported finished goods, but that model is slowly changing. With India's support, Tanzania is pushing toward industrialization. We're seeing manufacturing zones being developed, local processing of raw materials, increased value addition before export. This means more jobs, more skills, more control over economic output. And here's the key: industrialization reduces dependency. That alone is enough to make global powers nervous. One of the most underrated aspects of this partnership is knowledge exchange. India is not just investing money, it's sharing expertise. From IT systems to engineering practices, Tanzania is gaining access to tools that can accelerate its development. This includes technical training programs, educational partnerships, digital infrastructure support. Over time, this builds local capacity. And when a country can stand on its own, it negotiates from a position of strength. Africa has one of the youngest populations in the world. Tanzania is no exception. This partnership is tapping into that demographic advantage. With better infrastructure, more jobs, and access to skills training, young people become drivers of growth. And that creates something powerful: momentum. A growing, empowered youth population can reshape economies faster than any foreign aid package ever could. Energy is at the center of any serious economic strategy, and Tanzania is making moves in this space as well. With India's involvement, there are developments in power generation, renewable energy projects, grid expansion. Reliable energy means more industries, better living standards, increased investor confidence, and from a geopolitical perspective, energy independence reduces vulnerability. Now here's where things get even more sensitive. The partnership between Tanzania and India is not limited to economics. There are growing discussions around security and defense cooperation. This includes maritime security in the Indian Ocean, anti-piracy operations, military training, and collaboration. This is significant because control over security means control over stability. And stability attracts investment, but it also signals influence. Let's zoom in again on geography. The Indian Ocean is one of the most important trade routes in the world. Whoever has influence here holds power over global trade flows. With India strengthening ties with Tanzania, its presence in this region becomes even more solid. And that creates competition, not just with the United States, but with other global players as well. So what happens next? Washington is unlikely to stay silent. We may start to see increased diplomatic engagement with Tanzania, new investment proposals, strategic partnerships aimed at counterbalancing India's influence. But here's the challenge: the game has changed. African countries now have options, and that shifts the balance of power. For the first time in a long time, African nations are in a strong negotiating position. Why? Because multiple global powers are competing for influence. This allows countries like Tanzania to demand better terms, choose the most beneficial partnerships, maintain strategic independence. This is a major shift from the past. And it's happening right now. Tanzania's move also aligns with broader African goals. The African Continental Free Trade Area (AfCFTA) aims to boost intra-African trade. With improved infrastructure and partnerships, Tanzania could become a key hub within this system. That means increased regional trade, stronger economic ties between African nations, reduced reliance on external markets, and that's a long-term game changer. Interestingly, much of the global media coverage focuses on panic and tension, but the reality is more nuanced. This is not just about fear, it's about adaptation. The world is adjusting to a new reality where Africa is no longer passive, and that requires a shift in how global relationships are understood. Tanzania's approach offers valuable lessons: diversify partnerships, focus on long-term benefits, invest in local capacity. Other countries are already taking notes, and we may soon see similar moves across the continent. None of this happens without leadership. Strategic decisions, bold negotiations, and long-term vision are essential. Tanzania's ability to navigate complex global dynamics will determine the success of this partnership. Leadership will make or break this moment. Let's be real, not every bold move succeeds. Potential risks include mismanagement of funds, political instability, external pressure from competing powers. Success depends on execution. And that's where the real challenge lies. We are witnessing a global reset. Power is no longer concentrated in a few hands. It is spreading, shifting, evolving, and Africa is becoming a central player in this new order. Tanzania's move is just one piece of that puzzle, but it's an important one. So, what does Tanzania's bold move really mean? It means the old playbook is no longer working. It means Africa is no longer waiting for permission. It means new partnerships are rising, and old powers are being forced to adapt. And most importantly, it means the future of global influence may not be decided in Washington, London, or Beijing, but in places that were once overlooked. Places like Tanzania. This is not panic, this is reality. And the world is watching. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure you subscribe to the Spotlight 24/7, your go-to channel for powerful stories, deep analysis, and the untold truths shaping Africa's rise. Drop a comment below. Do you think Tanzania made the right move? And don't forget to like, share, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Because here, we don't just report the news. We spotlight Africa, the Spotlight 24/7, where Africa's story comes to life.